Welcome to the latest edition of Northern Engineers Power Talks. Today we have the pleasure of talking to Josh Raffo, who is director of Thrift Energy. Josh is responsible, or his company is responsible for spearheading some of the leading green tech initiatives in the engineering sector in the UK. And what's best, he's based in the Northeast, as is his company. Welcome, Josh. Now, can we start by just you telling us a little bit about yourself, your role, and your company, please? Thank you.
Yeah, lovely to meet you, Marie. So as you said, I'm Josh Raffo. I'm the commercial director and one of the shareholders for Thrift Energy Group. I'm born and raised in Newcastle, and we're just based in Team Valley and Gateshead, and we operate pretty much a national coverage for the installation of renewables and insulation, for both private, domestic, social housing, and commercial properties.
That's brilliant. So, what are some of the sort of key things you've been leading on in the past year or so recently?
So the company's seen significant growth over the last 5 years. Turnover peaked at just over 25 million. So where we started going back to 2012, we've been steadily increasing our offerings, creating new relationships with social housing providers and local authorities. And we've been predominantly been delivering large-scale social housing projects across the UK, including here in the Northeast, installing solar PV systems on domestic and commercial properties in the public and private sector, as well as some large-scale award-winning schemes for insulation across in Lincolnshire, Walsall, Basildon. So we've got quite a breadth of delivery that we're working on currently, but particularly over the last 12 months, we've seen a significant shift towards green tech technologies, including air source and PV.
So, obviously, the government is currently doing a push for air source and PV, and
Yeah.
is talking about financial incentives at the moment, particularly for domestic customers. So, how do you see the future of air source and PV shaping up over the next 5 years?
Well, I think some of the most recent stats that have came out from the MCS has shown that a growth of about almost 500% in new companies registering to be able to be accredited to deliver MCS approved products, which includes solar PV, which includes air source. So I think that's reflective of where the industry's going. I mean, it might be a little bit sad, but I drive around places and I just look at all of these roof spaces that are empty, look at all of these factories that don't have anything on. And I do think that over the last 12 months specifically, the government and the Department of Net Zero and Security are really starting to push housing providers or homeowners into taking up renewable technologies. So you've got from the domestic side, so owner occupiers can access the boiler upgrade scheme, so that allows households to be able to get up to £7,500 towards installing a heat pump in their home. We're commonly seeing that's only being adopted currently but from off-gas properties, but we do sometimes get some inquiries from architects coming through where major redevelopments or home renovations are happening, and people are thinking, well, actually, it's time rather than putting in a new gas central heating system, why don't we look at attracting this grant and then improve the efficiency of the properties moving forward?
So, at a domestic level, do you work hand in hand with sort of insulation companies to do the insulation first before obviously putting in an air source heat pump? Because that's kind of the problem we have with our housing stock in the UK. It's predates 1940, the vast majority, so it's not really the best insulated and most heat efficient.
Yeah, so with Thrift Energy Group, we're a whole house retrofit business. So we
Okay,
started off installing loft and cavity wall insulation were the first
right.
insulation measures that we started with. But we have suitable systems and products and services that we install on to treat the walls, floors, roofs, for all elements of a fabric of a building. It's really important, and I think one of the major pushes in all of the schemes that we work on is a fabric first approach. You should be looking to insulate and then looking at renewables as a secondary option. Particularly as you said, when it comes to the installation of air source heat pump, it's got to be designed right. It's got to be a fully insulated property, or to the best of your ability to have it. And then the design that comes back on the for the air source heat pump system allows the consumer to see savings. As you alluded to, there's been, in the early days of air source heat pumps, there was thousands of systems that were installed and commissioned that didn't consider insulation, which has caused significant problems for the consumer's energy bills. So it's really, really important to ensure that the house is suitably insulated.
So what happens if you're dealing with an old property or heritage property where say it's got, I don't know, cathedral ceilings, for instance, and or it's listed? How would you deal with that? Are we talking about maybe it's off grid as well? For instance,
Yeah.
how would you deal with that? Are we talking about, some properties would not be at all suitable for air source heat pumps, and they would go on to say biofuels, for instance, and it's all sort of linked up with that.
Yeah.
The vast majority could potentially be suitable with the right insulation.
Yeah, so I mean
Yeah.
there is an insulation treatment for anything. So for your example of like cathedral ceilings, you can install pitched roof insulation. When it comes to heritage properties, they need a deeper retrofit solution, and sometimes it's just not possible to get the correct planning approval to necessarily upgrade it, in which case you would then suggest a different electric heat system that could be complemented with a solar PV and battery storage system to drive the energy costs down. I think it's really important for anyone in the industry to act responsibly and ensure that the system design is going to allow for bill savings, and also not affect the end user significantly with increased bills.
Or there is a proportion of houses or buildings that would only be suitable for, say, things like hydrogen, biomass, non-electric solutions. But what you're talking about is the majority of houses that could be potentially insulated to a high standard and suitable for the products you're talking about, which, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The
Yeah.
vast majority of the domestic housing stock is suitable. Um, there is solutions, as I said, but again, it's quite expensive. These systems are costly to install, to design correctly, and there's a lot of different systems that are available, and you've got to meet building regulations as well. So I think it's a balance between value for money and a bit of a return on investment. I always say people don't really see insulation as sexy because it's something, it's a necessity. It's not someone really looks at and think, I really want it, until they really understand the benefits of it, or until it's actually being installed, which is probably why there's been a lot of incentives over the last sort of 20, 30 years to encourage the take up. When there's a solar PV campaign going or an air source heat pump,
Yeah.
people, it's technology and people want to buy it. But there's not very many people look at the boiler and think, actually, I want to get rid of that boiler. People only replace them when they're sort of end of life or the
Yeah.
system breakdowns.
Yeah. Okay. Josh, that is absolutely fantastic. So illuminating, and it's been an absolute pleasure to talk with you. So this ends another edition of Northern Engineers Power Talks. Thank you very much, Josh.